Hey, this is Christy Goldfeder from Delicious Life Health Coaching. And today I want to talk a little bit about my story and how I started my journey to wellness and becoming a health coach. Um, so this happened a long time ago, and I actually didn't realize it was part of my journey until recently. So it was 2001, and I was freelancing, and I had a boyfriend. And I was doing freelance web work, so totally different from what I'm doing now. And I had a job that was okay, that I liked just fine, but I didn't feel like it was my life's calling. And I was kind of feeling like maybe there was something missing, but I wasn't sure what it was. And I had a boyfriend that I loved, but I also wasn't sure if it was going in the right direction. And um, things were just kind of moving along. So nothing really out of the ordinary happening. And then he asked me to move in with him. And I kind of hesitated, but then I thought about it and I decided that I would, even though I wasn't quite sure if that was the right decision to make. Um, Only because I wasn't sure how the relationship was going to work out. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to move in with somebody and, think about marriage. Um, I was about, I guess I was 29. And, oh no, I was 28. I was 28. So that's also in astrology, it's called the Saturn return. So that's usually when a lot of things start shifting in one's life, every 28 years or so. Um, so I started looking at apartments with him to find a place. We looked at a number of different places and we found one that he liked a lot and I liked okay, but I had a weird feeling about it and I wasn't sure why, but I was not really listening to my gut back then. Or I would get hints of certain things, but I wouldn't pay attention to them or I would discount them. So it was in a brand new building and everything was all nice and modern and new. And one thing that made me a little nervous was the price. I thought it would be a little bit too expensive, and it was okay with the job that I had now, but I wasn't sure how easy it would be for me to pay rent later. But he reassured me it would be okay and it would be a good place to live and it was a really nice place. And then we should move in there. So we finally decided to take the place, and we were set to move in on September 8th. And it was in downtown Manhattan. So we moved in, and when we got there, there were still some weird things going on for me. I still felt like something was not quite right, and I wasn't sure what it was. Um, didn't really want to unpack the boxes. The only thing that I did two things. I bought curtains and set them up so that people couldn't look in our windows because I felt like the windows were very close together, so people could just from the other apartments could just look right in. And I set up my stereo, and that was pretty much all I did. And then so we moved in on a Saturday, and then that Tuesday we were getting ready to go to work, and I was running a little late. I usually would get out the door by 8 o'clock, but I was kind of running around. I couldn't find some things. I'm making breakfast, and then all of a sudden we heard a really loud boom, and it sounded like a truck rolling over a pothole, but right outside the window, which was weird because we were on the 14th floor. And then we also started hearing lots and lots of sirens. Now, we didn't have the TV on because we didn't have it hooked up yet and we didn't have cable, so we couldn't get reception. So we really didn't know what was going on. And we heard more and more sirens. The curtains were closed, so we didn't see what was happening, but after a while we finally looked, and then we saw the World Trade Center on fire. That was the view from our apartment. So we were watching the events unfold, taking photos, staring unbelievingly at what was happening. We didn't know what it was exactly because we didn't have news, and we were standing there, and he was looking out the window at a certain point, and I was trying to cross the living room, and then all of a sudden, a second plane hit, and he saw that happen, and I, because of the impact of the collision and the vibrating from it, I got knocked over because the building that we were in was shaking so much. So it was really, really intense. And then as we watched, we figured out that probably we should be leaving our building. It didn't seem very safe, so we went downstairs to leave. We talked to the doorman, and he said, "You have to evacuate." And we said, "Can we just grab some things?" Didn't even think to bring extra clothes or anything like that because we didn't think we would be out for more than a few hours. And then we went up and got our laptops, and then we were going outside, and it was chaos. There were people everywhere. There were people crying. There were people staring upwards. People watching other people jumping, and it was horrifying. That's the only way you could describe it. And then the police and authorities were trying to get us out of the area because it seemed really dangerous, so they were yelling at us to go uptown and walk away, and we finally started moving, and it was right before one of the first ones fell, and we had just escaped the big, massive cloud of dust that was coming up the streets and everywhere. So we ended up having to stay in a hotel for a few days because we had no place to stay, and then after that we split up and stayed with other friends. We ended up never moving back into the place that we only lived in for 3 days, and we broke up within a couple weeks, and then within a month or so of the incident, I had lost my job. So I got really depressed, and it was a really hard time for me, and I didn't know what I was going to be doing. So I ended up kind of regrouping. I found a place to live for a little while, but then eventually I moved out of the city, and then I was going to live with my parents for a little while until I figured out what to do. And it was a big crisis for me because I just had no idea what was going to happen next. So in the next part, I will talk about how this affected my idea to go into health coaching and healing people. But it all started with the fact that I realized that some of the decisions that I was making were because I was not listening to my intuition and my gut. So that's when I started to really pay attention to the feelings I was having and getting clear on what I wanted and making sure that I was going in a direction that made me happy instead of trying to please others. This is Christy Goldfeder from Delicious Life Health Coaching. I'll see you next time.